Hey, everybody, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Fix Your BS, where BS stands for belief systems, also business systems, also balance sheets, where we talk about money and relationships and business and success and try to give you tips and tricks. As you know, we always search the internet looking for the best people that are going to help you improve your life in either one or more of those areas. And once again, I have an amazing individual that we found on Instagram of all places. You know, video is making its way as the number one way to get in front of people and to get attention. And today we have a professional marketer, videographer, YouTuber, and mentor who is helping entrepreneurs and brands and creatives scale with video. You are not going to want to miss this. Today I have Ryan Snaadt with me. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. And he has said that he's got some very interesting things that he's going to share. And I cannot wait to dive in because people need to figure out how to use video effectively. And you're the guy to go to.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you having me on the show. Excited to jump in today.
Yeah, absolutely. So give me a little bit of a history for everybody so they learn a little bit about where you came from and how you got to be, you know, a professional marketer, videographer, YouTuber, mentor who really helps a lot of people scale with video.
Sure. Yeah. So from Central Iowa was where I live. So Ryan Snaadt, it rhymes with odd. I always tell people that because it's always a struggle for people. But I'm the owner of Snaadt Media Group. So we're a video marketing business based here in Central Iowa. I'm originally from Southeast Iowa, so 3 hours away from where I live now. So kind of my journey with video started, I would say, probably in college. So I got a GoPro from my grandma for Christmas to kind of document my study abroad trip when I was in college because I was going to Europe. So got this GoPro, went to Europe, enjoyed the 2 week trip that I was on, but then I came home and immediately started like editing together a travel video of the trip on Windows Movie Maker, which is like a free, really crappy editing software. If you use that though, no shade to you guys. Everyone starts somewhere, but started doing that and got kind of fell in love with the process of just like building a storyline, kind of figuring those things out. So then fast forward to later in the year, I started making YouTube videos about my fitness journey in college. So I was doing weightlifting, how-to videos, nutrition, what I was eating, supplements, stuff like that, because I'm a health nut. So did a video every single week for a year. And at the end of that 52-week series, I had a whole 40 subscribers. So
Woo,
it
woo,
was,
watch out now.
yeah, little disheartening for a 19 or 20-year old. But at the time, I mean, it really helped me understand like how to get quick shots, how to edit efficiently and put out a video every week and just really improve my editing skill. So fast forward through to the end of that year, ended up working at Target part-time, and I ended up buying a Canon T5 camera, which was like $500 on clearance with my employee discount. So that was my first like official camera that I had. And in that first 12 months after buying that camera, I made about $10,000 with it and took all that money and bought a bunch of more professional gear. So that was kind of like the launch of my business, was taking this little $500 camera and shooting little projects here and there. And this was kind of when social media was really starting to pop off. More and more businesses were realizing it's kind of a big deal. It's not just let's hire the intern and make them do it. It's like this is kind of like really important. So that was just from doing little part-time gigs around campus, around the Des Moines metro, and going to school full time. So that was kind of what planted the seed in my head of like, this could be something bigger if I actually put time into it. So again, jumping forward to in the story, I graduated from college with a degree in management and sociology, ended up working full time for an agency for 4 years and learned the whole back end of running a marketing agency, how to get retainer clients, pitching very large projects. All the while I was shooting nights and weekends still, just trying to get some work done that way. And then my wife and I were in the process of paying off all of our consumer debt. So we paid off $116,000 of debt in a year and a half. And I was just going balls to the wall with this video stuff on the nights and weekends. Like for about 3 years there, I'd work my 9 to 5, go to the gym, come home and eat. And I'd work from like 7 to midnight every night during the weekday. And I did that for like 3 years. And it was fun to me. It was very, very fun. Like just the process of building stuff and shooting projects all over the place. So it got to the breaking point at my full-time gig when I was like ready to launch. I was taking 12-hour days at my full-time gig to get the Friday, Saturday, Sunday off so I could fly out to go shoot out of state, shoot all weekend, and then fly back. And I was, again, getting to the point where I was ready to jump. So at that point, left my business, left the full-time gig. I've been doing my business ever since. But along the way, it's been really fun. Like I use my own brand as guinea pig for all the stuff that I do for my clients. So it's if I think something's really good with YouTube, I'll do a strategy with it. Currently, I'm doing podcast experimentation with my own show. So trying to prove podcast concepts in my own brand to kind of show people that it works. So that's like the medium length story of kind of how I got to where I am today.
That's awesome, man. And in your bio as well, it talks about a YouTube guru. I mean, like a proclaimed YouTube guru. And it sounds like something that I've heard from very successful people that I've interviewed, over the years, where it's a lot of that trial and error. You get out there, you did it for a period of time, you didn't feel like there was a ton of traction. But the difference between the people that are successful in anything in life and the people that aren't successful is just not giving up. So was there ever a moment in time where you were like an aha moment where you're like, this, I learned something in this moment about video, YouTube, or anything along those lines?
Sure. Yeah. On the YouTube side, kind of my aha moment was at that 12-month process when I only had 40 subscribers. And I was like, man, this really sucks. So I took a hiatus for a couple of years. And the thing I learned about that was I was trying to be the people that I followed on YouTube. I saw a lot of other people doing fitness videos and day in the life of eating and all these things. I was just blending into the crowd. I was being very vanilla and very forgettable. No one would remember who I was. And that was by design too. It's just like I wasn't being original. So then after those years, I learned a ton about marketing, how YouTube works, and started implementing it on my own brand. And for me, I was making business videos for videographers about how they could start in business and start making money from shooting videos. I was basically making videos for what 20-year-old Ryan would have wanted to hear and see when I was in college and trying to figure that out.
Mm.
So then my channel blew up because I understood the search engine marketing of it, where people are, it's a search engine, YouTube is. So making videos that are searchable, highly clickable, get right to the point, that can hook and hold an audience, and then giving them a call to action to then sell digital products on the back end, grow my email list, grow my Facebook group, all the things that I started implementing. Then it completely blew up because I took it really serious. So then, I mean, once that happened, it was kind of just like going and going and going. So I know my channel's up to about 17,000 subscribers now, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I get like 30,000 views a month on my channel, and I don't put out regular videos like I used to anymore because all these videos still rank and get views and do all the things that they're supposed to do. So I think that was kind of the turning point for me, was like taking the channel and the platform super serious and really being viewer centric. Like, who am I helping, and how do I easily communicate that to the world? So then I know if I come on as a viewer, oh, this channel's for me. Like Ryan stuff is for me, and it's not all over the place.
That's great, man, and it's so smart. So I teach small business owners and help like local, regional small business owners um, how to really dial in a lot of their marketing, their sales processes, and taking it serious is something that they seem to miss. They're kind of dabbling in it and hoping or throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks. And when you're not identifying who you're trying to talk to, there's that statement: if you try to talk to everybody, you're talking to nobody. And that's the biggest problem. I've had that problem in starting my businesses. I've had that problem in trying to grow my own following, where I was talking to too many people. And I was like, you know what? The people that I really love to serve are the people that I am, which is somebody who had a brick and mortar business, service type of business, went from doing, a few 100,000 to a couple million. And what was the process, and how can I teach other people that? And that's really what I focus on now. And you're right. Over the last 6 months, since I really dialed that in and started to take it serious, all of a sudden, a lot more leads, a lot more viewership, and a lot more quality. 17,000 isn't bad, man. That's fantastic if it's dialed in. It's the people that have 17,000 that are like, they're the people are all over the place that you can't really add value to them or create monetization around it because there's no synchronicity, there's no alignment.
Sure, sure. Well, and also just building, again, all about funnels and all that type of stuff, making it worth your while, right? Like having ways that you're monetizing your effort. Because then I mean, yes, you're doing this to help people, but there should be some way that if they want to learn more, they can go deeper. And that was something that I really struggled with early on, because it's like you don't want to be overly salesy and stuff like that. So then I figured out kind of a system on how to do that to over deliver on value on the front end. And then if people want to, go deeper, they can. But I had this crazy kind of pop off moment where my most viewed video ever has like 300,000 views. and it was about GoPro photography. So how to take better photos on your GoPro. And I knew it was going to go viral because I had a whole system of how I was researching keywords, and I knew ahead of time, like, okay, this is going to go viral. So I made the title GoPro photography. I made the file name when I exported it out of my editing software, GoPro photography.mp4. I put the word in my description everywhere. I made the thumbnail super clickable. I researched the top 10 videos, made a top 10 list, and then put in some of my own tips and tricks just from my experience. And the video blew up. But the biggest thing that I did wrong in that scenario was I didn't have a freaking call to action at the end.
Oh,
I had
oh man.
300,000 people watch my video. I
And
could
you
have
didn't
sold
have
them
some sort of
something.
product or service, that even a free one, that they could get more information to where you could get their email, which is something that everyone here needs to listen to. So you did all that front end, got a lot of views. There's a great story if you want to hear it, but I was talking with this guy and he goes, "Hey, I saw that you have, $75,000 follow or 75,000 followers on Instagram." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "You need to be over 1 million. I can get you over 1 million followers." And he goes, "I have over 1 million followers." And I said, "Oh, what's your monetization of that?" He goes, "No, man, that's not the point. The point is to have this many followers." And I was like, "Well, what's the point of having that many followers if you're not helping them with something and adding value to them?" So he was all about the followers. I didn't agree with that. And that's exactly what you're saying. So if you did you learn something from that and put it into action for the next few videos or the other videos that you started working on?
Oh yeah, now every single one of my videos has a here's the lead magnet I'm going to be talking about at the end, or I'll build something that applies to that. Like let me build a lead magnet, or directly sell something. But usually it's not. It's like 20% of the time I'll offer something in there. But yeah, just the and then the engine of how it goes. It's like even to this day I'm still getting like about 50 new leads a week from videos that I made 6 years ago. It's just crazy, like how that compounding effect happens with YouTube. So as a platform, it's just a completely different beast. You look at even on my podcast, I had a guy, and here's a local guy that he does a lot of like fitness videos with his girlfriend, and they had a video that had 35 million views on TikTok, but it's like he didn't sell anything. There's no like upsell. There's no way you can actually capture the attention to turn it into something bigger, which is part of the problem there. It's like I can't even fathom 35 million people in a room together, like how big of a place that would be. And then you're just making like this easy throwaway lower shelf content that doesn't communicate anything, doesn't explain who you are, doesn't help people, doesn't do anything besides get eyeballs, right? And
Right.
it's really like how we as business owners, once we get the eyeballs, how are we going to leverage that to not only just to make money, but to help and make the biggest impact possible? You owe it to your audience to do that.
Well, yeah, the more impact you make, the more money you seem to make as well. So, it's just one of the things. If you're gonna take the time and effort to make an impact and add value, well, then you want that person to go further with you, which is where the monetization comes in. Because if they're not going further with you, then they're not receiving that value and improving their lives. And you have not only missed out on an opportunity to be profitable, but you have now done a disservice because now the person got information from you, but didn't have any opportunity to go further. So therefore, you not only messed up on your end, but you messed up on their end too. You can't help them anymore.
Sure.
Um,
Well, and it kind of explains more too. Like, so I mentioned like my lead list is one, but then just to kind of see it in practice, I run the largest Facebook group in the world for videographers. There's 94,000 members in my Facebook group now, and it almost all came initially. That first probably 10,000 came from my YouTube channel, and then that parlayed with groups being pushed heavily on Facebook. So anybody that showed interest in videography would be suggested to my page without having to pay for a sponsorship or something, which was kind of nice. But it just goes to show like whether you're trying to build a lead list or build an audience on a certain platform or whatever you're trying to do, there's so many things you can do with long form search based video that people can find that it just doesn't happen on other social media platforms.
that's awesome. If somebody in business was starting out and they're listening to this and they're like, "Man, I need to start doing this," like, what would be just some initial steps that they could do that would be relatively simple to get started, so they're not biting off too much?
Sure, sure. Well, especially for your audience, if it's a lot of brick and mortar businesses, and I work with a lot of these here in Iowa, it's like a small service-based business, but they have no way to like sell something online because they're a chiropractor or a massage therapist or a plumber or whatever. The first thing is one, figuring out who your ideal audience would be, and then building some kind of offer or something that would benefit them that you could. So doing this work before you ever start hitting record on anything. Then once you know, okay, here's who my core audience is, here's what could help them. And not just for the sake of having a lead magnet or something, but something that actually helps them, you know. Um, then you go about the business of saying, where do these people spend time online? Find that platform and then start building your strategy from there. So for me, since I knew a lot of videographers were on YouTube because they're looking up camera reviews and videos on cinematics and stuff like that, I knew my audience was already there. And my key differentiator for my channel when I first started YouTube was I was talking about business, like the boring sales and marketing and how to close deals and stuff like that. And people weren't talking about that at the time. So I had the combination of my audience was there, they could easily find me, and I was different and unique, and I was adding way more value than other people that were there. So if someone's listening and they're kind of in that realm, it's like, okay, even if you're a plumber and you offer services to your direct area, maybe you could build an audience of other plumbers or other people that could benefit from your knowledge, like you'd mentioned with your material. It's like, how can I help other business owners or whatever it is? And that's the way that you can kind of back into where should I be? Are these people on LinkedIn? Are they on YouTube, Instagram? You know, you can kind of tailor your specs that way. And then I always encourage people, especially in the beginning, pick one platform that those people are on and go super deep on it. Spend a whole year making just YouTube videos. You'll learn so much about yourself and your process than trying to, well, I see like Alex Hormozy posting 4 times a day on every platform, so I should do that. Or I see Gary Vee doing this or whatever. It's like you're watching people that are running marathons and you haven't even taken one step yet. So you have to really take a slice of humble pie and take a slow step every once in a while.
I love what you're talking about with that, because people don't realize you just mentioned Alex Hormozy. Well, he's been at it for over a decade, and now he has a team of people that he's spending somewhere along the lines of $50,000 a month just in creating and posting content that gets attention. Now, he didn't realize that until 3 years ago, until he actually was kind of anti uh, posting stuff online, because he didn't really think it mattered, until he came to the realization of, oh, a personal brand matters. Who are you? What are you about? What are you trying to do? Who are you helping? Why are you helping them? So important to develop that personal brand, but develop it is very important to understand. So I made the same mistake. Gary Vee's posting, 60 times it's like 36 times a day or something like that. Well, yeah, but he's got a team, and he's been doing it since he created his wine YouTube channel back in like 2010. So he's been doing it for, over a decade. So start where you are, take those simple tips that you just said, put them into place, and think of it in a long-term strategy. It's not I'm going to go viral and make a bunch of money. And even if you did, let's say, Ryan, this is something people need to understand too. Let's say you had something on the back end where you were trying to sell something, and you got, 30 million views and even 1% converted. Do you have the infrastructure to where you can actually deliver on those people coming through? And if you don't start somewhere, you probably don't. So going viral isn't the goal here. It's the long-term play. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I think people cling to virality, which is so interesting to me because a lot of them, if they are small, like you said, it's local business. Okay, the local plumber goes viral. That's not going to affect the business. You know, a million people across the country saw it. No one's going to be able to shake a hand and give you $1 for that. So there's ways you can back into that. I know an example of that was like, I think it was last year. I really went deep on Instagram Reels because they were really getting really popular. They still are. But I did a Instagram Reel every single day for 6 months to see what would happen. Had my team editing, all the captions, all the different editing styles. We were A/B testing some different things, and I had one video go viral for me. My page at the time only had 1,000 followers on it, and ended up getting up to 7,000 in 1 month from this one video. It had 300,000 views, but it was about my editing process of how I take riffing sessions or long form videos with clients and then chop them into reels and TikToks, and then my distribution, my entire like behind the scenes curtain of how it works. That if any of the videos that I made for an entire 6 month period, that was the one that I wanted to go viral because I had so many people in my DMs, like hundreds of people saying, "Hey, do you travel? Do you travel? Does your team go places? Like, can you come to Boston and film my CEO doing that? Can you come to Florida? Like, we've been looking for people to do this." And then I find myself on sales calls with people like pitching tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of video projects over the course of a year or 2 years, all from this one video, which is the whole point. If you're listening, you're like, I want to go viral. It's like, no, you don't. You want to have the right video hit the right people with a
Right.
way that you can actually convert on it and actually make money from it. That's the whole piece that people are missing out on.
Yeah, man, and that's so true. And you just kind of gave me some advice on going viral as well, because people do want that. And what's interesting, I've done this before on a couple other platforms. We did one on Instagram Reels and then one on YouTube as well. But we did get quite a few direct messages from it of it was unexpected, really, because it wasn't the goal. You know, we were trying to give something where people would actually download a free business assessment type thing. But we gave the information of how we did something, expecting people to download it and implement it. And what we got was people direct messaging us saying, "Can you do this for us?"
Yep.
And which was interesting. So like we didn't get as many downloads as we expected, but we got way more direct messages of people going, yeah, that sounds great. I don't want to do that. Can you do it for me? And then you're like, okay, so now you're in the consulting side, which is fine. But it's all about getting attention, you know. And when you talk about my niche of working with local small business owners, you know, I have a integrated medical company. I'm always looking for opportunities to help people who are in that space get better and implement the right strategies to grow and expand. But most of what I do is help people understand how to implement the systems in their business so they aren't key person dependent and they're not stuck in the business. Most people start a business and they become trapped in their business, and they feel like, well, I can't even take a vacation now without, you know, shutting down the whole thing. And we try to we don't try, we do. We help them implement the systems properly. But what's interesting is there's more ways to create value for people outside of your local area. And we teach people how to do that as well. So really, we have a neuropathy program here in our clinic. Well, we can create online programs for that, for people that will help them with neuropathy and help them guide them through neuropathy with an expert across the entire country. They don't have to come from local. And that's what we're teaching people too, is that like you think you're just local and going viral might not help your local business, but it does if you strategically think about it beforehand and then do what you just said, which is implement this strategy and pay attention to see how it does over a period of time. I love that you're saying that, man. So I would like to ask you a question real quick though, because you mentioned paying off $116,000 of debt to launch your business. So how did you do that? Because that seems daunting to most people. And I'd like to go back to that for a second, because I think people get a lot of value from that.
Sure. Yeah. So, kind of the backstory on this, which is important, was I'm a money hoarder by nature. So I had my business for 8 years and never took a salary from it. I would work, make money, I'd pay the taxes on it, and I would just leave it in my business account because I'm like little rainy day fund, like kind of made me sleep a little bit better at night. Well, my wife and I were engaged at the time, and we were looking at combining finances, and she loves Target. She's a shopper. She's always like blowing money is like her side job. She loves doing that. And I'm, as I mentioned, kind of a chronic hoarder of money in a good or bad way, however you look at that. But we were sitting down looking at finances, and I was like, we need to get this debt out of our life. So long story short, a friend of mine who was the kicker for Iowa State University, his name's Cole Netton. He and his wife had worked with this coach in our area that had paid off 42 grand in 11 months. And he was unemployed for 3 months of that time. And his wife was a teacher in her first year of teaching out of college. So I'm like, if they could do this crap, we could too. So basically, we cut down all our expenses that we could and just followed the Dave Ramsey snowball method of doing it. But really, the way that we accelerated that was because, one, I actually took a salary from my job, which sounds so stupid that I never did that out of my own business, but I did that. My wife cut down her expenses, and so did we. We cut all of our expenses down, and then we just knocked it out as fast as we could. And then in that process, once I had kind of a goal and a why of why I was doing it, I was booked up all the time. I was shooting constantly. I was reaching out to everyone I could because I had a reason to do it. And then once we paid off all of our debt, we looked up from it, and I was like, holy crap, like I could just take this business full time right now if I wanted to. So then we did another 6 months of just like stacking emergency funds and getting things lined up where we wanted to. And then I went full time in the business and did it that way. And then I thought, oh, if I can at least keep this cadence now when I'm full time, and then the year after that, the business tripled because I had all this extra time to, have 40 hours extra a week I can put into the business, and I can travel more, and I can do the things I need to do, as well as do the online stuff that I'm doing, which is the way that I can scale my business up from being a local service provider. It's like we do a lot of stuff with YouTube, and we do consulting remotely and speaking and stuff like that. So none of those things could have happened unless I really just went all in. But I'm kind of the opposite of an entrepreneur. Like entrepreneurs take on inordinate amount of risk to start a business. Like I take on the least amount of risk possible, like a risk averse entrepreneur. So it's kind of like an ironic situation here.
Hey, you
So
know what? That's a book right there. Risk averse entrepreneur. You could write a book on that. That would be, I think, a really good selling book because you're right. Entrepreneurs, they generally take on extraordinary risk, either financially or on personally, in order to grow something, build something. But if you do play the long term play and you really understand that, you know, this game of business and really of life, it's a day by day, moment by moment, and if you can play the long term game, it's a lot more I don't know, palatable, if you will, instead of being stressed out all the time, for sure. um
absolutely.
Dude, some great advice there, though. So one of the things that I really wanted to ask you, because being a YouTube expert and understanding all this video information about how it goes viral and doesn't go viral, what types of videos are businesses actually wasting their time on? I think that's something people ask a lot, and also they want to know the opposite. What videos should they be doing if they shouldn't be doing the ones they're wasting their time on?
Sure, sure. I love that question because I follow this kind of structure called the video importance pyramid, is what I've called it. And I'm actually in the process of writing a book about this because I talk about it all the time and people find a lot of value from it. So basically, think of like a food pyramid. When I was in school, the bottom foundational layer was grain or breads. And I'm pretty sure Michelle Obama changed that. So now it's like fruits or vegetables or something. I don't know what the structure of it currently is, but visualize that food pyramid. And basically, a lot of people focus on what I would call the sugary stuff at the top, which is social media posts. You sink it like 4 hours in editing a TikTok, it gets 20 views, and you're like, video's stupid. I'm never doing it again. So we're kind of flipping it on its head. So if you're going to do one video, and that's the only thing you ever do for your business, the one video I would encourage you to do is an anchor video. So it's a who you are and what you do in 2 minutes or less video. Again, if you're going to invest in out like having a vendor come in, like my company or anyone in your local area or whatever, that's the one video you should have because it explains to every audience. It's an introduction to who you are, right? You could use it in sales calls. You could use it at the local Rotary if you're presenting at an expo, on your website, everywhere, and you can use it for 5 more years. So that's the most important thing you can do. The next step up is a sales video because they bring in the dollars. So it's like the people that are on the fence about buying. Here's how we're different than competitors. Here's why we're better. Here's all the customer testimonials and reasons why you should stick with us. The reason that video is not the most important is because it only applies to about 10% of the people that would be watching it. Obviously, it gets the biggest impact, though, so that's why it's the next step up. The third step above that is what I call social proof. So if you're doing interviews with employees for recruitment, I do a lot of career-centric culture videos for companies because they're really trying to recruit. And you say your culture is great, but you can say that, but show it. How is
Right.
your culture actually desirable? So it can be on that side, but then also interviewing past customers. What was their experience like? You can say you're a really high quality service or product, but have the people that are experiencing it say that about it and explain it. The next step up is search-based videos, which we've been kind of dancing around this whole conversation, which is YouTube essentially, making topical content people can search and find. Because again, that's more of an investment than just putting something out on social media, because people could potentially find it years down the road. And if you follow structures that I'm familiar with, you will do that if you rank it properly. And then at the very tippy top is micro content. So that's the social media posts, the Instagram stories, all the different stuff. A good example is like my wife just went recently to open her own hair salon, and she used to work at a hair salon. And all they ever talked about every week in their social media meetings were, what are we going to post on Instagram this week so we can stay relevant? They only had 250 followers on their account, and maybe 12 people would see the post. And it's like, you guys are spending hours and hours a week to try to reach the smallest little piece that's going to make the most nil impact here. It's like, you guys should be focusing on platforms that would get you to reach more people in the area and get discovered by new customers. So I think a lot of people really struggle with that. They focus on the micro content and not the big impact videos. But the secret of doing the structure is if you make any of the other videos I mentioned, you can pull micro content from every piece of those and turn those into social posts as well. Just by pulling a couple of clips, reformatting them for social media reels or whatever you're trying to use it for. And then you're off to the races, which is really nice.
That was what I was about to say, is the reason why we do things like this, the long form content where you're speaking to somebody for 45 minutes to an hour, is that we can take clips from this. Like you just said, the secret is to do the long form and then chop it into the short form. So you spend an hour recording with somebody like yourself, you're not only getting a ton of value, but it's I'm providing value to you, you're providing value to me. There's this exchange, and then you can take this thing and then we chop it up and we'll put it on Instagram, YouTube, the entire thing on YouTube. We'll put the Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. We'll do it on Facebook. So we'll do it on TikTok. So that's the beauty of it. It saves a ton of time if you think about it, because you're not taking, oh, I got to shoot this video and then set up for another video and set up. I think that makes people, it turns them off from doing videos because it's just draining.
Yeah. And one of the biggest hacks that I've done just on the production side to simplify that for clients is we'll do, I mentioned earlier, like these, I call them riffing sessions, where we'll come in and we'll do a whole production day for one day, and that's their entire month of content. So we'll do 4 long form, 8 to 12-minute YouTube videos. Each video is scripted. We'll read them from a prompter, or I'll throw the questions or the prompts to the talent. They'll read them. Then we'll have them switch outfits, put a hat on, do whatever. We'll change the background, and we do the next one. We do that 4 different times. And then we'll shoot 30 to 60 short form videos that are all, we have a spreadsheet. We'll go down topics. Like one of my clients is she's in finance and insurance and real estate and that type of stuff. So I can say, hey, client, tell me what's the difference between a 15 and a 30-year mortgage? And then she'll just start riffing, and we record everything, chop it all up. And then basically you're only spending 8 hours out of the entire month to do your entire content. So you can do a weekly YouTube video, and you're doing daily posts on social media without being robbed of your entire week. Because as I mentioned earlier, with my wife's hair salon example, they were spending like so much freaking time every week, just like, we got to make an Instagram post, we got to make a TikTok. It's like there are ways to speed up this process up to make it much more simple so people can get back to running their business.
Yeah, and that's so important, is that they're working, running that business. The difference between working on the business and working in the business are 2 different things. And so many times people kind of blend those together, and they get so caught in the day to day that they're not really paying attention to working on the business, which is what you're talking about: the data, the planning, the preparation, strategies. What should we really be spending our time on? Because we all have a limited amount of time every single day. Any final tips, strategies, hints? I mean, you've hit some really important strategies and tactics and secrets thus far, but anything else that comes to the top of your head that you're like, people need to know this?
Yeah, I would say in terms of video marketing, I mean, people that are maybe listening to this podcast are like, well, I've been meaning to get around to it. You probably should have got around to it like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. Now is the time. It's getting to the point where most businesses and brands completely rely on word of mouth, referrals. There is a whole big world out there. There's so many other people you could impact, money to be made, just impact and resources that you could be giving to people by using video, because it's the only way that you can, or the most effective way, I should say, of capturing your message and getting it out to the world. So I would say, in terms of like getting people fired up, it's like, pick one strategy that we talked about, look at your business and figure out, if I was really consistent on this one platform for this one audience for 6 months, 3 months, 1 month, whatever the test period is, what would look like success for me, and how could I make a big impact to start this process of helping more people online? Because I think it's only going to get bigger that way. And especially when people say it doesn't make an impact for my business, or, oh, I don't need to do that. When I look at my area, I've got probably 12 other video production companies in town in my area. People know me because I'm very present on social media, and they're like, well, why would I hire a company that doesn't post on their own social media when I'm hiring someone to do that for me? So kind of like drink your own Kool-Aid, so to speak, and just put out a message that you stand behind so that you can attract more of your ideal client over the long term.
That's amazing. And also, people don't realize that your social media now has really become more of the website presence than like the website used to be. So people would go to the website to learn about you and look at your photos and read stuff. Well, now they go to social media to learn about you and look at photos and read stuff. And so if your social media isn't on point, which I would say a majority of businesses that I've dealt with are not on point. They really have, it's fraction. It's the message isn't clear. It's not up to date. It's not, it's not, formatted properly and all of that. And if you don't have all those things in place, people go to your social media and they go, oh, this this might be a scam. This might not be a real business. This business obviously doesn't know what they're doing, even if they're not in the social media. I've worked with electricians. You mentioned plumbers. I've worked with them, HVAC, roofers, construction guys, chiropractors, dentists, orthodontists. It doesn't really matter what type of business you're in. People are going to go to that social media and immediately they'll form an opinion about how your company is based on that social media. So this is extremely important. Everybody, if you want to learn more about Snaadt Media Group and what they do, we're going to have all the links below, but you can go to www.snaadmedia.com. That's SNAADT media, media.com. You can look up Ryan and his team and make sure you see what they're doing on Instagram as well as YouTube and others. On Instagram, we're going to have the link below as well. But you can go to @Ryan_Snaadt, SNAADT, SNAADT. Great information here, man. Like, people don't realize this, but that was extremely valuable. You could have done a master class on this information and they could have paid a couple $1,000s for that information, but they get it free here. And so I really appreciate you diving into that and giving some ridiculously valuable tips.
Sure. Well, Greg, thanks for having me on the show and appreciate all the time. And like I said, anything I can do to light a fire under anybody listening to get after it, that's what I'm here to do. So,
all right, everybody that's listening, click on the links. Make sure you look up Ryan and his team and what they're doing. Really appreciate you, like I said, having you on. Everybody, for this has been another episode of Fix Your BS, where we talk about belief systems, we talk about balance sheets, we talk about business systems, and we really try to add value to your life in 5 major areas: your business, your relationships, your health, your belief, and your finances. Because if you have those 5 things playing at a high level, then guess what? Your life is pretty sweet. And that's the goal, is to be fulfilled and content and happy and grateful. And if you're not living high level on those 5, you're really not living fulfilled, content, and grateful. Brian, and thanks for being here. And everybody, until next time, this has been another episode of Fix Your BS with me, your host, Dr. Greg Persley, also known as Dr. G. Make sure you share this episode. Huge value, and we can add that value to other people that you know. So share, like, and make sure you subscribe. Talk to you next time.